Morning guys, I'm Jamie Harris. I'm the J in JAS Racing and I'm one of the guys in the team who straps himself to a Kawasaki ZX-10 and tears around UK circuits in the National Endurance Series racing motorbikes. I thought I'd do this video because it's needed. I would imagine some of you might have been in a similar situation, but I thought I would document and tell you about my situation. So watching a video by a fellow competitor racer who details the cost of racing, my wife listened to this video as I was watching it over my shoulder, and the words were, "Are you taking the fucking piss?" came out of her mouth when she could hear the financial details that were being broadcast to the public on how much it costs to race. So now some of you may have seen Neil Stevenson's YouTube video or videos. He's been documenting the cost of racing per round and in total. So if you have, you know the financial horror story where he says racing costs more than sending your kids to private school. So I'm here to tell you the real truth, the friendly truth, the truth that you can show your wife without having to worry about her finding out, giving you a dead leg or getting you in a headlock. So before we begin, I need to tell you this video is proudly sponsored by Fake Taxi. Because if there's one thing racing has in common with Fake Taxi, it's fast rides, questionable decisions, and still usually ends in tears. That was the script they asked me to relay to you. So let's get into it, shall we? So let's talk one of the juicier items of racing itself, which is tyres. So you don't have to go and buy a brand new tyre, and should you do, that's fine, you can go and do that. So I race with a club, No Limits Racing. They have a team of tyre technicians there, and they do us very good discounts and deals on tyres. Fitting is free, for example, and we get a percentage off of tyres should you opt to go to Dave's Tyres and Audio Tyres there. It's going to be more expensive. So, you know, but you don't have to buy brand new tyres. So you can opt for what we call used slicks. Scrubs is what they're commonly known as in this sport. So let's say a front tyre, a good one is going to be 100 quid. And a really good rear tyre is £125. So that's only £225 for the weekend. It's not a great big deal. It's cheaper than your wife's essential trip to Zara. And in reality, my tyres last a bit longer than the stuff bought from Zara. Goes without saying, to make your bike go faster, you need fuel. So what does fuel cost? 25 quid? 25 quid for fuel, that's it. You can't even fill your car for that nowadays. I went and put diesel in my car, 85 quid. 85 quid, and it had a quarter of a tank in it before I even filled it up, 85 quid. And that only lasts me a week. So £25 for a weekend isn't bad at all. I think even Greta Thunberg would be happy with that. Whilst we're on the subject of fuel, to get to the circuit, you know, you need fuel in your transportation. So diesel in a van, for example, let's say 15 quid. Diesel, you get more miles per gallon out of diesel. Your wife probably doesn't use a diesel vehicle. She's not going to go how much diesel costs or anything. So let's just say diesel's 15 quid. 15 quid. And here's the beauty, £15 in a van means that I'm not in the pub, which means there's no £100 bar tab, no dodgy kebab waking up in the morning with a stinging rectum, and checking your bank app to find that you've accidentally spent 120 quid on an alcohol brass. Racing literally saving you money. The other cost itself is racing itself. So race entry fees. Let's say 200 quid for a whole weekend. 2 days of speed, glory, and unnecessary swearing at a timing screen. Although swearing cost me £7 on the Saturday alone as well. In the sense that I had to put £7 into a swear jar for my teammate's Andy Ashcroft's daughter. So maybe it's not as cheap as I thought. There's another £7 there, £7. So race entry, £207. If I didn't swear, it'd be cheaper. You can't help these things. It's cheaper than a weekend in Blackpool, which I don't know why anyone wanted to do that, to be fair. And at least I get to come home with lap times instead of food poisoning. There's a test day, so you can do a test day. It's optional, test days with no limits. I think the last one, I don't know how much, about 80 quid. About 80 quid, I think. That's not a cost. That's cheaper than a counselling session. I can tell you that for sure. Except when I screen, my counsellor doesn't quite like it, but whilst I'm doing it at Donington Park inside my helmet, no one knows. Food, we're not going to count food. The reason why we're not going to count food is because we eat anyway. So it doesn't matter if we're eating a sandwich at Cadwell Park, in the paddock, or at home in the kitchen. A sandwich is a sandwich. It's the same, a loaf of Warburtons. So we'll strike that off the budget sheet. So there's no food there at all. Ongoing maintenance. So oil filter, bike maintenance. Let's call it 45 quid for a year. So if you was to go to the manual in your car, it would say to you that you need a service every 12,000 miles. You phone, I don't know who you got your car with, let's say you drive a Hyundai or whatever. You phone Hyundai and say, how much is the service on my car for a year? And they'll go, oh, it's a great big thing, a car. It's going to be £200. But look at the size of your motorbike engine. It's literally this big. So you can't argue with 45 quid. 45 quid, it's cheaper than a lavender scented candle. And at least oil smells better. Some of the costs that just don't count. She can fuck off. Brake pads. The whole idea of going faster is to not brake. So the better you are, the less brakes you go through. I'd say to a point where they become immortal. Let's say your brake pads and discs are immortal, which is brilliant. Race fairings. You only need to replace them if you crash. I have crashed, but not to an extent where I need to replace my fairings. Jeez. Nicky Williams must spend a lot of money on fairings. And paint. A lot of yellow paint, I'd imagine. So don't crash, and there's no cost there. Accommodation is free. I mean, a van with a bit of condensation is basically glamping. The kit that we wear, helmet, leathers, gloves, it's an investment. If you was to say to your wife, why have you bought that handbag for 500 quid? Why have you bought a £2,000 handbag? Danielle, why have you spent £3,000 on a Louis Vuitton handbag? She's going to say, it's an investment. So your kit, helmet, leathers, gloves, blah, 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 an investment. Maybe a bit smellier, but there we have it. So, so this is where it gets good. What racing actually saves us is 100 quid in the pub, 120 quid on a brass, and if you're at home laying in bed, she's snoring her head off next to you, you're probably sat on eBay looking at buying a load of shit for 50 quid. So you're saving yourself that. Racing is a money saver. It's basically endorsed by Martin Lewis. It's approved by Martin Lewis. If she says you're spending no time with the kids, or you're setting a bad example, that's incorrect. You can fuck off too. That's incorrect. So kids, let's start with them. Kids need role models. They need heroes. Ta-da! Without racing, they'd be idolising TikTok influencers, hanging around vape shops, and before you know it, they're the next Ian Huntley. It's a statistic. Without dad racing, they've got no inspiration. You know, with dad racing, they've got discipline, a hero in leather. It's not just racing, it's safeguarding, is what it is. Now, if your wife, partner, girlfriend attacks you with this, it's expensive, you're using all the family budget, so on and so forth, all that crap. It's not. Here's the mic drop. You don't even pay for this. You don't pay for it. So with me, my employer pays for all of my racing, absolutely everything. The tyres, the fuel, the racing itself, the test days, the lot. At the end of each month, they give me money. Money I didn't have before. So that's a sponsorship, right? That's a sponsorship. Define sponsorship. I give some of my time and some of my experience and some of my knowledge to my employer. At the end of the month, they give me money. That's a sponsorship. So technically, it doesn't come out of the family budget at all. Your midlife crisis is fully funded by your boss. So if you think about it, racing is basically free. And if I play my cards right and Fake Taxi does essentially sponsor me one day, let's just say I'll never run out of fuel. So the grand total, let's just do some numbers one last time. So we've got tyres, £225, bike fuel, £25, van diesel, 15, entry fees, £200, test day, £80, that's £545. £545. Now let's subtract some of those things that it's saving us. £100 in the pub, gone. That's £445. £125 spent on adult work, and then the sponsorship from the boss. We're actually, it's a financial strategy. Neil Stevenson will not tell you that. I'm basically making money racing. That's all you need to know. Send this to your other half, post it on the Facebook so that she accidentally finds it. She then will find out the truth. She will understand the true cost of racing. She'll love you more. She'll appreciate that you're a true hero to your kids and they ain't going to be the next Ian Huntley serial killer. Perfect. Get this on, get it viewed, play it out loud, leave it in the kitchen when she's cooking so that she can hear it in the background, that sort of thing. And Neil, do us all a favour, like play it down a little bit for us. Cheers, mate.